conditions and the situation on the ground as rain continues to fall across the region. Hoedspruit Airport serves several communities as well as the Kruger National Park and nearby lodges, many of which were left isolated when floodwaters cut off roads and access routes. Airlink says it is in constant liaison with local stakeholders including sandparks and private lodges and will continue to update passengers should conditions change. The resumption comes as the Limpopo provincial government provides an update on its response to the flooding and recovery efforts. Monki Zikoko, Eyewitness News, Limpopo.
Staying in Limpopo, the suspected mastermind behind the Parapara burglary allegedly bought his girlfriend a Mercedes-Benz worth R500,000 with the stolen US dollars from President Cyril Ramaphosa's farm. Today, the ex-girlfriend of accused number 1, Emanuela David, testified virtually at the Modimolle Regional Court in Limpopo. David, along with siblings Froliana and Ndilinasho Joseph, face charges of breaking and entering into the Parapara farm and stealing $580,000 US dollars in cash in February 2020. The ex-girlfriend, who cannot be named, says she received a call from the luxury car dealership's salesperson in late February of that year.
They called me to say they're with my partner. And then I asked the salesperson what was that all about. And then he said to me, I must just send him my ID as a surprise. A few days later, they called me to come and collect the vehicle. And I checked with them if I'm going to pay anything, if I owe anything. They told me that my partner has paid it in full.
Lawyers for former President Jacob Zuma have defended the strong language they used when describing the chair of the TRC Commission of Inquiry, Justice Sisi Gampepe. Zuma and former President Thabo Mbeki have brought an application for Gampepe's recusal. President Cyril Ramaphosa appointed Gampepe in May to head up the commission that is investigating the reasons behind the failure to prosecute apartheid-era crimes. Both former heads of state believe Gampepe cannot chair the commission because of her role as a commission in the original TRC and the fact that she was the Deputy Director of Public Prosecutions in the 1990s. But in Zuma's papers, he claims Gampepe has a deep-seated hatred and animosity against him as she delivered the 2021 Constitutional Court judgment that sent him to prison. The commissioners have asked Zuma's lawyer, Advocate Dalim Mpofu, about the language used.
I don't know. I'm not the one who was sitting in a cell detained without trial. So if...
We're not talking about that. We're not talking about
that. No, but that's what this point is about. This point, I thought we are dealing with the third leg. That's what it is about. The point about the judgments in the Constitutional Court have to do with the detention of that trial, unless...
In the National Assembly, Head of Crime Intelligence Dumsane Khumalo says his arrest by the Investigating Directorate Against Corruption was part of a project to tarnish his reputation. Khumalo was arrested last year along with 6 other senior police officials and faces charges of fraud and corruption related to the irregular appointment of a 30-year-old civilian to crime intelligence. But Khumalo previously defended the appointment and told the Parliament ad hoc committee investigating police corruption today that the objective of his arrest at the O.R. Tambo International Airport was obviously to target him and the PKT team. Babala Ndenze has more.
Dumsane Khumalo returned to the witness stand this morning to continue his testimony before the ad hoc committee. Khumalo faced questions from EFF leader Julius Malema about his own arrest last year by the Investigating Directorate Against Corruption and how it affected him.
How did you feel about it, that you get to be subjected to that kind of treatment as a senior police officer? Did you know about it before?
Khumalo says his arrest did not feel right, adding that there was a clear agenda to target him and the Political Killings Task Team.
And then one had to understand it as a project targeting the reputation, because already the campaign was on targeting both PKTT as well as myself.
Khumalo's testimony continues and will wrap up later today. Babala Ndenze, Eyewitness News, Parliament.
And in the Western Cape, mopping up operations are underway in McGregor after firefighters contained the blaze on Retreat Farm that broke out earlier this week. Fire teams will remain on site to monitor the area for any potential flare-ups. Meanwhile, firefighting has been scaled down in Franschhoek after some rain helped contain the flames. Cape Winelands District Municipalities Aniska Rood.
The Cape Winelands District Municipalities Fire Services extends sincere thanks to all partners in the response, including Cape Nature Volunteer Wildfire Services, Drakenstein and Stellenbosch municipalities, Winelands Fire Protection Association, farmers, landowners and volunteers for their support and cooperation. A heartfelt gratitude is also expressed to individuals and community organizations for the generous donations.
At the same time, relief efforts are continuing in Dunoon a week after devastating fire tore through the Site 5 informal settlement and left thousands of people displaced and in urgent need of support. Disaster management teams, together with local organizations, continue to provide temporary shelter, food parcels and essentials to affected residents. Cape Town Mayor Jordan Hill-Lewis has also welcomed the outpouring of support, praising residents and organizations for standing together and assisting those impacted by the fire.
I really want to thank all of the generous-hearted Capetonians who donated goods for the victims of the Dunoon fire. And I know that residents were really grateful for all of the food, the nappies, the sanitary pads, the school supplies, and much more that came in from Capetonians across the city.
Gold's trading at $4,605.26 an ounce. The rand's at 16.39 to the dollar, at 21.96 to the pound, at 19.03 to the euro. Brent crude oil is at $64.37 a barrel.
In Boksburg at this hour, expect about a 20-minute delay. This is on North Rand Road between East Rand Mall and Pretoria Road, while in the mother city. There's that accident scene in Bellville on the N1 outbound. This is after Bill Bezerenhout.
A look at your weather. It's a cloudy Friday afternoon in Gauteng today with scattered showers and thunder showers expected. Temperatures have peaked at highs between 26 and 28 degrees. It's a partly cloudy and warm afternoon in Cape Town with isolated showers and thunder showers as well, and strong southeasterly winds there at a high of 27 degrees. The top story in Eyewitness News this hour: flights in and out of Hoedspruit have resumed after days of disruption caused by flooding across parts of Limpopo.
EWN, in touch, in tune, and independent. For the latest, visit ewn.co.za or download the EWN app. You're with Mandy Wiener on 702.
Let's walk the talk. Streaming on the Prime Media Plus app.
DSTV channel 856,
92.7
and 106 FM.
The Midday Report with Mandy Wiener on 702 and Cape Talk is brought to you by Nedbank Commercial Banking. Think bigger, think Nedbank Commercial Banking. On the show today, on the ground in Limpopo and Mpumalanga as flooding hits hard, 9 people have died. How damaging will infighting be for the DA in a local government election year? Former President Mbeki and Zuma attempt to have Judge Sisi Khampepe removed from the TRC inquiry. We'll look at the informal tobacco industry's impact. And it's Friday, so sports and good things too. All of that over the next hour.
The Midday Report with Mandy Wiener.
Streaming on the Prime Media Plus app. DSTV channel 856,
92.7
and 106 FM.
Good afternoon. Welcome to the Midday Report on 702 and Cape Talk with me, Mandy Wiener. Good to be with you. The Premier of Limpopo's having a briefing at the moment about the flooding in that province. We'll speak to our reporter there. 9 people now confirmed dead in those floods in Limpopo and Mpumalanga, and the impact of that really being seen. And then some breaking news coming through just before 12 o'clock today. We now have a statement from the Ministry of Defence and Military Veterans, which says, following a series of reports containing serious allegations concerning the President's clear instruction on how Exercise Will for Peace 2026, that was the military training exercise last week, should be conducted in particular, the participation of the Islamic Republic of Iran, the Minister of Defense, Honorable Angie Motshekga, would like to place it on record that the instruction was clearly communicated to all parties concerned, agreed upon, and to be implemented and adhered to as such. Here's the great stuff, right? Due to the seriousness of these allegations and reports in the media, the minister has established a board of inquiry, because we need another one, to look into the circumstances surrounding the allegations and establish whether the instruction of the president may have been misrepresented and or ignored as issued to all. The Board of Investigation or Inquiry must establish all the facts on what took place during the exercise and table to the Minister in 7 days a report after the completion of the exercise. So basically, they are now appointing a Board of Inquiry to look at this military exercise with Iran and the instruction from the President on how to conduct that exercise, because we need another Board of Inquiry. So that's just been announced. We're trying to get hold of the minister's spokesperson to unpack that. But if you have thoughts, send me a WhatsApp voice note, 072 702 1702, 072 567 1567. Yesterday, at this time, we brought you that breaking news that Dion George from the Democratic Alliance had pretty spectacularly resigned on live television. We have asked Dion George to come on air. He's not doing interviews. The DA is also not doing interviews at the moment. They have effectively wished him well and said that it's a pity that he resigned before the disciplinary charges against him were completed. But I've written a column on EWN essentially saying that this is a Damascus year for the DA. It's a local government election. They have always campaigned on how efficient they are in terms of delivering on services. And they have the opportunity in this election year to really, really give the ANC a go, win in so many of the major metros that are currently in coalitions. How much of a risk, how much damage will this leadership infighting be to the Democratic Alliance in a local government election year? Because effectively it is a bit like Game of Thrones at the moment. Tony Leon is the former DA leader and was part of the team that negotiated the GNU. Tony, good afternoon to you. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you very much. Good afternoon. Happy New Year, Mandy.
Tony, we've spoken at length about the negotiations for the GNU. You wrote a book, I wrote a book. We've really ventilated this. One of the big things was that the DA did not want to be co-opted. And this is essentially the allegation that Dion George is making, is that the DA has now been co-opted, that it's been captured by the ANC through the GNU, and John Steenhuisen is beholden to President Ramaphosa. In light of where you were in the negotiations and where we are a year and a half later, is this exactly what you were concerned about, or is this something else?
Combination, Mandy, yes. Just three things briefly. First of all, I always used to be in this movie myself for a long time, but it was a long time ago when I led the party. I always think you should treat with some circumspection and caution the exit interview of a departing or defecting politician, because obviously they're going to say things that justify their own move. So we saw that actually in London last night with Robert Jenrick, who spectacularly departed the Conservative Party, which he tried to lead. And Dion George was front and center of the DA's GNU as one of the ministers. One of the things I looked up in the book, being there, that I wrote, and you reference it as well in your book, The Deal, is that Dion George was the only DA cabinet minister it was a concessionary crumb given by the ANC from their table for the GNU to move along, who was actually a co-chairman of a cabinet cluster which dealt with international relations and trade and security. So I don't know, because obviously I'm not part of the DNA ministerial chat group, whether all the allegations Dion is now making about Steenhuisen being hobbled and therefore the party being muzzled and captured by the ANC, whether he used the position of some preeminence he had inside the cabinet, in that cabinet cluster, to advance the viewpoints that he now accuses the party of residing from. So that's a question that I think is legitimate to ask. The second question, I read your article and I agree. This should be the DA's finest hour. Here we are, local government election, the ANC shorn of a majority, awkwardly governing through coalition and compromise. The state is brittle, unemployment's mountainous, crime is rampant, all those boxes that you tick every day on your show. So for a party, as any party happens to be the party that I have a long relationship with, to be involved in an internal wrangle, let's put it politely or diplomatically like this, is not a great start to what is really should be a crunch election year.
The DA goes to an elective conference in April. We're likely to then have local government elections around November, December. We don't know yet. We've seen from the ANC how damaging succession battles can be. News 24 reporting today that John Steenhuisen will likely contest for another term as leader of the DA. Is this damaging to the party in the local government election year? We expect more, obviously, over the next 3 months into the elective conference. What should the DA be wary of?
Well, it should be wary of being debilitated by internal dissension. In fact, ironically, a Congress, which is happening in April, can be a very good clearinghouse if it's used constructively. Because, look, and this goes actually to the one part of Dion George's interview that I think is actually a legitimate question. I'm not dealing with the personal stuff. It's this. The leadership is about purpose. What is your purpose? Who are you? What do you stand for? Can the voters tell the difference? That's purposeful leadership. And I think that leadership issues, whether there's a contest or no contest, are not just about personalities. They're about that purpose. So if the party has an honest and frank conversation with itself without being utterly distracted and losing its core focus on the voters about what its purpose is it going to reposition itself within the GNU? Can it be, as it were, half in government and half in opposition? How effectively to do that? I think that would be a good thing. The other necessary thing, in my view, and I was in a few leadership elections, one in particular myself, before I decided to go, is that the leaders have got to offer a vision for this thing. And whoever's going to stand, or whether it's contested or uncontested, needs to answer the question that I've framed and others will frame, and also to the party as an institution, not what I think or the pundits say, needs to say, is this person the very best person to achieve the party's goals, which as the short-term goal, as you described in your article, is to win as many of those metros as possible so that it can really be a credible challenger for power in the 2029 general election. That should be the question. And if that is answered in an effective way, then I think that what you're seeing at the moment will tend to become background noise. If it's not answered effectively or it's fudged over, I think the background noise is going to crank up.
Tony, I've argued that this will be a Damascus year for the DA, not in the sense that they need to find Jesus, but that they need to find themselves. How much of this is about the DA defining what it actually is? Is it still a party in opposition? Is it a party in governance? Is it about the fabric of the DA? John Steenhuisen has spoken about the liberal Taliban in the DA. We know that there's lots of islands. I refer to it as Game of Thrones. Is it about the DA really defining itself and what it is?
Yes, well, look, I mean, the DA is not a small sect or personality cult, happily. It's a very broad-based political party, and that's why it's grown over the last 25 years. So obviously there are going to be differences of viewpoint. It shouldn't ever become like the North Korean Communist Party, I say, where there's only one view and one leader, and that is the writ of the whole party. So I actually think you should have a healthy contest of ideas, and if necessary, if there are two different viewpoints, or three or four, as to what's the best idea or what's the best purpose of the party, then that should inform a leadership contest if there's going to be one. If everyone gets behind a leader and agrees with his or her viewpoint, well, that's fine as well. But then, you need to be certain that that's why you're doing it, not because of past loyalties, not because of some future job offer. That's got to be the determination. I know this sounds very generalized, but, I don't believe, Mandy, in bombing my own ship in public. So I'm not going to say he's right and she's wrong and so on, because I don't think that's helpful. And I don't think former leaders should advise the current leader publicly what their position should be.
Yeah, I agree with you, and that's not the purpose of this interview. But the
Sure.
insights, absolutely. Thank you so much, Tony, for giving us that kind of experience and insight into in the entire goings on at the moment. Tony Leon, the former DA leader, speaking to us there. What are your thoughts? How important is this going to be for the DA going into a local government election year? We know the DA has got an elective conference in April. Do you think that it stands on the verge of really being effective in the local government election? Do you care at all about the leadership brouhaha that's going on, or do you think it will be irrelevant come November, December this year?
702. 702. Mandy Wiener.
Weekdays, 12 to 1 p.m.
The Truth and Reconciliation Commission investigation inquiry today hearing arguments from Thabo Mbeki and Jacob Zuma seeking to have Judge Sisi Khampepe recused from the commission. A pretty unique position where you've got both Mbeki and Zuma arguing here, agreeing. And they've cited possible impartiality in her hearing of the evidence. Khomotso Modise, EWN reporter, following that for us. Khomotso, good afternoon to you. Take us through the arguments being made by the former presidents.
Oh, Mandy, yeah, it's a rare sight here at the Sayabono Center in Braamfontein where the Commission of Inquiry is being held. And this sitting today is, as you mentioned, about a recusal application that's been brought by the former presidents. And they make very similar arguments. But in terms of former President Jacob Zuma, while he agrees with a lot of the arguments that have been made by former President Thabo Mbeki, he points out a specific argument around what he calls a deep-seated hatred and animosity that the Justice Sisi Khampepe has for him. And this is all based on that judgment that she made or that she delivered on the Constitutional Court bench in 2021 that led to Zuma's incarceration. But also he, points out issues around how Justice Khampepe had the evidence leader, Advocate Ishmael Siminya, pen her heads of argument and her response, her legal documents in this matter, saying that Siminya could not be giving legal advice to the chair of the commission as he is the evidence leader here. And he says there's clear conflict there. And so he spent a lot of time detailing how that process was improper. He calls it illegal. He says that Siminya is also potentially a witness in all of this, and so he could not have penned these, papers on behalf of the chair of the commission. But the former President Thabo Mbeki, Mandy, makes a rather detailed argument, and there is more meat on his argument. And a big one that he makes is the fact that Justice Sisi Khampepe was a commissioner of the TRC, the initial TRC in the 1990s. He also goes into how she was the Deputy National Director of Public Prosecutions also in the 90s. And he argues that what's being the inquiry today, or the inquiry into the TRC matters, is into the bedrock of the findings of the TRC. And they're basically saying that she made findings. She recommended as one of the commissioners who should be prosecuted and who should not. And now she's being called to check or to inquire whether there was any improper conduct in implementing the recommendations that she made as a commissioner back then in the 90s. And they say her involvement cannot be substantiated because it is her very work as the commissioner then in the 90s that is being looked into by the Commission of Inquiry. Of course, the other side, which are the lawyers for the Galata family, as well as the other parties, don't agree. They feel that this inquiry has nothing to do with the work of the TRC, but what happened afterwards and why there was no prosecution.
Khomotso, thank you very much. Khomotso Modise, EWN reporter, listening there to the arguments being made by the lawyers on behalf of former Presidents Jacob Zuma and Thabo Mbeki.
The Midday Report with Mandy Wiener on 702 and Cape Talk is brought to you by Nedbank Commercial Banking. See money differently.
12:24 on the Midday Report. The Minister of Home Affairs has invited public comment on the draft revised white paper on citizenship, immigration and refugee protection. So Cabinet has approved this draft revised white paper, and now the public has an opportunity to comment on it. Let's understand this a bit further with the Minister of Home Affairs, Dr. Leon Schreiber, who joins us now. Minister, good afternoon to you. Thank you very much for your time today. This draft white paper outlines a vision for a reform to South Africa's citizenship, immigration and refugee protection frameworks. Talk us through this. What exactly is it hoping to achieve?
Good afternoon, Mandy, and to your listeners. Let me just first indicate that more information about the white paper, you can access the document and how to comment can be found at our website, dha.gov.za. As you say, this is really the most profound reorganization and reform of our citizenship, immigration and refugee protection system that we've seen in a generation. And it's really aimed at addressing a number of problems that I think broad swaths of South African society agree with. So we are trying to move beyond sort of lamenting the problems in some of these systems towards the kind of systemic reforms that will solve those problems. If I can quickly touch on sort of 4 key areas. The first one is on asylum seekers. A key reform that we are proposing is the first safe country principle, where we are saying that South Africa cannot bear the burden that is associated with asylum seeking on its own, that asylum seekers should not pick and choose South Africa as the only destination in Africa, and that if asylum seekers pass through other safe countries, that they should be able to apply for asylum in those countries. So in order to make sure that we don't violate the principle of non-refoulement, where you put someone in danger, we will be required to designate those safe countries on the basis of other African countries that also abide by the UN Convention. So there has to be a standard for other safe countries. We can't send someone back to a dangerous area, for example. Secondly, when we're looking at civil registration, this is where our focus on digital transformation really comes in. So you'll find digital ID, the creation of an intelligent population register so that we can use biometrics for foreigners in the same way that we use them for South African citizens, the electronic travel authorization that's already in the works, so that we can record facial recognition, facial images, fingerprints for everyone who enters South Africa. It cannot be, we cannot continue with a system that doesn't record digitally and biometric information for all foreigners. Third one to highlight is immigration. At the same time as dealing with some of the abuses, we are also unlocking opportunities. So a comprehensive reform of our visa system in line with Operation Vulindlela's recommendations so that we really unlock economic growth. And lastly, to emphasize the work on citizenship, the reforms there, to make sure that we firstly create a more manageable system. At the moment, Home Affairs is often overwhelmed by the number of applications. So we're looking at what a country like Canada does to say only 2 or 3 months a year will be created as a window period for people to lodge these kind of citizenship applications so that we actually then have the rest of the year to process them, bring in predictability, and then lastly, to really make sure that South Africa's interests are served in the process. We want to introduce a more merit-based approach, points-based systems for the kind of people that we want to become South African citizens. If someone is making a huge contribution, why should they wait 10 years? Conversely, if someone is actually not contributing to South Africa, why should they be automatically entitled to citizenship? So it's these kind of common sense reforms to make it serve South Africa's interests that we're looking at.
This reform is much needed. I don't think anybody can disagree with that. One of the big points that people are raising on the WhatsApp line and on social media that I've seen is that this is open for public comment now, but will only South Africans be allowed to comment on it, or will foreigners or undocumented immigrants also be allowed to?
Well, I mean, it's the comment process is really the same across any of these kind of proposed reforms. So I suppose that people can comment, you know, you'll have, for example, the UNHCR, which is an important stakeholder, international people that will comment on it. But of course, it's not really a question of your comment being based only on, you know, whether you represent a certain organization or, you know, come from a different country or not. It's about the substance of the comment. So it's not like we're going to accept every comment that's made, if you understand. It's about looking at what the comments are, what is the substance, is it in line with South African law, and as I say, does it serve South African interests? So, you know, we're not going to rewrite this policy paper on the basis of people making comments because they're foreigners. We're going to look at the substance of arguments, and I think the direction is clear, Mandy, that we are clamping down on abuses. We are implementing common sense technological progress, and we are changing some of these systems to make sure that they actually serve our country. And that's not going to change. I mean, it's certainly not going to change on the basis of comments coming from non-South Africans.
Dr. Leon Schreiber, thank you so much, Minister of Home Affairs. Very important. Sorry, just before you go, Minister, if people want to comment, where do they go?
Yes, just visit dha.gov.za. You'll find a link there to the actual white paper. Please have a look at the document before commenting, and then you'll find an email link and all the other processes. I must say we had our second public consultation meeting today in the Northwest. So we're also coming to all 9 provinces. All of it is there in the gazetted document.
Great. Thank you very much, Minister. Dr. Leon Schreiber speaking to us there. So if you're going to complain about this, if you feel strongly about it, we hear it in the voice notes all the time. This is an opportunity for you to actually formally give your view on the immigration issue in South Africa in a very constructive way. So go and read the white paper. I'm going to go read the white paper now. And listening to the Minister, I think it's a reform that we need. We need to actually tighten controls, make it more digital. But here's an opportunity for you to really go and give substantial comment as well. 12:30, time for Eyewitness News headlines.
Thanks, Mandy. Good afternoon. We begin with news just in from Limpopo. The death toll from the flooding in the province has risen to 9 as search and rescue operations continue in some of the worst affected areas. The provincial government is currently providing an update on the heavy rains that have battered parts of the province for days. Yesterday, the South African Weather Service upgraded its warning for Limpopo to a red level 10, the highest alert warning of extreme conditions with a real risk to life and infrastructure. Meanwhile, flights in and out of Hoedspruit have resumed after days of disruption caused by flooding. Aviation activities in the area ground to a halt earlier this week due to the province being battered by heavy downpours that damaged roads, closed schools and disrupted services. As the class of 2025 prepares to embark on the next chapter of their academic career, Parliament's education committees say they are concerned by the disjunct between the number of bachelor's passes and available spaces at public universities. Chairperson of Parliament's Basic Education Committee, Joy Maimela, says collective works needs to be done with the Department of Higher Education to address the gap. Meanwhile, Chairperson of the Higher Education Committee, Tebo Kholizia, has noted that delays in releasing the matric results will consequently also delay academic institutions from formally accepting prospective students. And China and Canada have reached a landmark deal on tariffs and visas. Canada's Prime Minister Mark Carney and Chinese President Xi Jinping met today and announced their strategic partnership. Those are the headlines. This Eyewitness News and more at 1 o'clock or as it happens.
EWN Sport.
Good afternoon, I'm Tolagile Mganga. Defending champions Kaizer Chiefs have drawn Betway Premiership side Stellenbosch in the last 32 of the Nedbank Cup. Last season's runners-up, Orlando Pirates first third-tier Jakumacha Mazivanzela, while Mamelodi Sundowns will host Motsipe Foundation Championship side Gomora United. The Brazilians have been busy in the January transfer window, signing Munapula Saleng from the Buccaneers, and Aubrey Mudiba has discussed how he's settling in.
A very good signing for us. Quality, brings quality to the team. We know what he can do. We know what he has done in his previous teams. I can't wait to have him in the team. So, a very quality signing for us.
Six-time major winner Carlos Alcaraz described his surprise split with long-time coach Juan Carlos Ferrero as a chapter of his life that has to end. The world number one parted ways with Ferrero back in December after he had coached him since he was 15 years old.
Chapter of life, there is a time that has to be end. We decided like this. I gotta say that I'm really grateful for these 7 years I've been with Juan Carlos. I learned a lot. Probably thanks to him, I'm the player that I am right now. But internally we decided like this. We closed this chapter in mutual. We both are still friends, good relationship.
As for the draw for the Australian Open, it'll see defending champion Yannick Sinner facing Hugo Gaston in the first round, while women's top seed Irina Sabalenka takes on a French wildcard. Alcaraz will play Adam Walton as he begins his quest for a first Australian Open crown. That's to become the youngest man to complete the career Grand Slam. Tolagile Mganga, Eyewitness News Sport.
EWN Traffic.
Well, at this stage, coming from Brakpan heading towards Benoni, there's slow-moving traffic. This is on Rangeview Road between Dube and Tom Jones. Also in Edenville, heading towards Bedford View, expect some delays. R24 westbound between Edenville Road and the Giluli's interchange. Bedford View, traffic also a bit sluggish. That's if you're driving towards Alex on the N3 northbound. Between the Geldenes interchange and Giluli's, while in the mother city, we're still dealing with that accident scene in Belleville, N1 outbound after Bill Bay Zadenholt. If you come across any other traffic issues, please WhatsApp us on 072 702 1702.
There's more EWN on air, online, and on the EWN app.
Real growth needs more than just banking, and Nedbank Commercial Banking is your growth partner. Their team of industry experts understand your business and its potential, offering insight to help you see opportunity where others see obstacles. Because when you can see what others don't, you can do what others can't. Think bigger. Think Nedbank Commercial Banking. See money differently. Nedbank is a licensed FSP and registered credit provider. T's and C's apply.
This year, Red Hill School celebrates the achievement of our class of 2025. Our IEB students achieved a record average of 4.3 distinctions per candidate, the strongest results in our school's history. Our international baccalaureate students placed in the top 10% globally, well above the world average. Results like these don't happen by chance. They reflect dedicated students, committed teachers, and families who partner with the school. At Red Hill, excellence is never accidental. It's built together. Visit redhill.co.za for details.
Supercharge your business productivity with Moloi Innovative Solutions. We bring the most highly customized and cost-effective IT infrastructure to your fingertips. Whether it's desktop and server support, cloud services or hardware, software and printer procurement, our dynamic team makes sure that you have the tech that resonates with you. Moloi Innovative Solutions. Experience at its best. Get to moloiis.co.za for more.
And now, it's back to Mandy Wiener on the Midday Report.
This is 702.
Let's walk the talk.
12:36 on the Midday Report with me, Mandy Wiener. Quite a few messages coming in response to the interview I did with Tony Leon. I asked the question whether or not this infighting in the DA will actually have an impact in a local government election year or not. And then also a lot of reaction to the interview with Dr. Leon Schreiber, the Home Affairs Minister. Vezu says, tell him to answer a simply question you ask him. He must stop acting like politicians of Zimbabwe. Greetings, ma'am, the team and 702 Landers. Mandy, I'm of the view that non-South Africans can never be objective enough to defend as well as protect our country in matters pertaining to our own country. That's on the white paper and the discussions there. Mandy, why is the minister not allowing permanent residents from a lot of countries to apply for smart IDs? I did not ask him that. Sorry. Some of us, we know the policy of the Democratic Alliance when it comes to the issue of undocumented immigrants. And then, hi Mandy, Jermaine from Eldo's, it's DA all the way come elections in November, DA all the way donkey. And then, hi Mandy, I don't think anything negative that happens in the DA will affect them in any way because the media is always on their side. And I think and believe the DA is the media's darling. If this happened in the ANC or EFF, this issue was going to be magnified and their leaders will be negatively reported. Look, I think that this DA elective conference is going to be much more important than previous ones because there's power at stake, because there's actually something on the table. They've got positions in cabinet, they're in the GNU, and I think we're going to see a lot more focus on the DA's elective conference this time around. But let's ask this question, right? If this was an ANC president that had been accused of mismanagement or of finances, and we saw somebody leaving the ANC like this, what do you think the reaction would be? And what would your expectations of the ANC be? Do you have a different feeling about it because it's the DA and not the ANC? So if you replace the names in the party, how would you respond differently? And should that be an issue at all?
702.
The Midday Report with Mandy Wiener.
Let's walk the talk.
A short while ago, the Premier of Limpopo held a press conference about the flooding in that province, saying that 9 people have now died in that flooding, both Limpopo and Mpumalanga being hit very hard. Mongezi Koko, EWN reporter in Limpopo for us. Mongezi, good afternoon to you. What are the official stats at the moment?
A very good afternoon to you, Mandy. So where we stand is the most important one being the death toll, which has risen to a total of 9. Of course, the Premier, Poppy Ramathuba, indicating that this is likely to increase as the inclement weather continues, of course, well into the weekend and into the new week. They are still conducting search and rescue efforts in the most affected areas. Now, Mandy, when I last spoke to you yesterday, we did see slight damage and we did also see continued flooding of said bridges and roads. But now, following that red level 10 warning by the South African Weather Service, the highest there is, we've seen even more damage. Now we've seen roads that you could potentially drive over after the rain had subsided now completely washed off. So the situation is worsening on the ground, and of course, Popira Mothuba acknowledging this. But in equal breath, she then went on to say that most of the damage is being seen on the roads, and saying that the provincial coffers are simply insufficient and will not be able to cater to the repairs that are needed in order to get the local economy back up as soon as the rains are completely done. She has then put forward a request to the National Transport Department in collaboration with SANRAL to intervene on a provincial level and furthermore on a district level in the hopes that this will fast-track the process of trying to rebuild. Mandy, she also touched on the issue of schools, which has been one important one, with residents and learners now sitting at home not sure when exactly they're going to go back to school. So the current figure stands at 31 schools damaged by the calamitous weather conditions, and a further 1,400 schools now closed off as a safety precaution. Now, once again, the Premier further reiterated that more schools could be shut as the weather continues to get bad. We are expecting really, really bad conditions, particularly tonight and Saturday. So it is potentially a cause for concern for residents. She also spoke on the issue of displacement, Mandy, where she asked residents to then indicate to the government if they have been lost and if they have lost their homes and if they need a place to stay, which is a rather odd approach for a provincial government to take. But she does say that they are tallying and collating data in the hopes of replacing and rehousing all of the said affected people. Of course, it's extending far beyond just where we were yesterday in Giyani, now reaching Palabora. The 4 main bridges leading into that area heavily damaged, making it almost impossible to get to Palabora.
Mongezi, I've seen you on social media in your yellow rain suit and your umbrella and your booties, making sure that you're able to get around there. What does it look like? What has your experience been of what you've seen and what people are saying to you?
Look, it's a dire situation. I myself, having the said rain boots and the raincoat, is sort of a privilege where you see people literally collecting what used to be their window frames without shoes. We saw a gentleman earlier today who sustained a very serious injury on his foot, his right foot, which was bleeding, and it seemed uncontrollably as he was trying to just pick up the pieces of what was. Now, Mandy, the situation is really tough. People expressing that they are feeling unsupported. We revisited the area where the president went to yesterday, that being the Mbaula village, just outside Giyani, about 56 kilometers away. And this is where we saw some of the people who said their data had been collected still displaced, unable to find shelter. Some of them had to sleep with the neighbors. And of course, as you can imagine, if 10-meter high waters had hit that that part of the province, some of those houses that are still standing are damaged, windowless, doorless, and of course the people feeling hopeless.
Mongezi, thank you very much for being out there for us and braving the weather. Mongezi Koko, as he explains, many people, this is their reality and their livelihoods and their lives really being threatened by that weather. Mongezi Koko in Limpopo.
You've heard the songs, but until you've seen it live, you haven't experienced the magic of cats. Coming to Monte Casino from 17 January until 22 February, it's the memory shared by millions. Book now at Web Tickets, brought to you by Peter Turin and GWB Entertainment.
LLB graduates can fast-track their legal career with the Law Society of South Africa's PVT School for Legal Practice. LPC accredited, this 4-month practice-ready course, which is taught by practicing lawyers, can reduce your PVT contract by 12 months for admission. Study by day, after hours, or via distance at campuses nationwide. The first 2026 intake runs from January to April. Applications close 31 October 2025. Apply now at lssalead.org.za. That's lssalead.org.za.
The Outsurance pointsmen know that every car on the road carries a story. Like a man wearing his finest suit on his way to an interview. He's prepped 100 times, but he still has butterflies. The Outsurance pointsmen know it's not just a car in traffic. It's a potential lucky break that could change someone's life. Every story's different and every story matters. That's why the Outsurance pointsmen have been doing what they do since 2005 in proud partnership with 702. Outsurance is a licensed insurer and FSP.
Sports Wrap. Sports Wrap with Tolakele Mganga.
Tolakele Mganga in studio in her very cool, can we say vintage Bafana
It
Bafana
is.
shirt? And it's not even like old school. It's just like
It's
genuine.
literally from a shop called Vintage. So you
cool.
can buy it there. Love it.
Very, very cool. Unfortunately, Bafana not in the AFCON final this weekend. So who do we support?
Senegal. Not that we dislike Morocco.
Ooh,
but
I'm going to have the Moroccan embassy on the phone to me.
Sadio Mane, he's already said ahead of this final that it will possibly be his last performance for Senegal. He was the man in 2021 when Senegal finally ended their years of wait when they won their first ever AFCON. It's surprising that for the reputation and the big names that both of these nations have produced, both of them are only just going for their second ever continental title. So that desperation to be the one that actually delivers it. Morocco, the only reason I feel like we shouldn't really be backing them is because the referees have been on their side. And I know...
No, you didn't.
And I know like Hef is like, no, guys, it's fair refereeing, all of that. No. And also they haven't been really impressive as hosts. I know I love it when South Africa hosts. Nothing will ever top South Africa hosting anything. But no, this time around Senegal, Sadio Mane is just such a likable character. So I'd like for him to kind of end it off on a high for him. But Morocco have done really well. You look at Brahim Diaz. It's only, I think, less than a year since he switched his national allegiance from Spain to accepting his Moroccan side in order to perform for this national team. He's done really well, scoring 5 goals in this competition. But still, my money would be on Senegal if I was a betting woman. But those people that still want to see Mohamed Salah in an Egypt top for possibly the last time, tomorrow we've got that match that nobody enjoys, the 3rd and 4th place.
It's the worst match ever.
It's the worst match to play, but somehow they have to lift their spirits in that one. In another world, it's the final, but it is what it is. But
Do you
Egypt,
think that should have been the final?
Nigeria should have gotten to the final because they're the top scorers. They've played the most impressive football. But at the end of the day, if you can't do the job when it matters most, you're going to end up playing the bronze medal match that nobody wants to watch.
Premier League this weekend.
Yes. For Manchester United fans, thoughts and prayers. We have a Manchester derby to kick off the season. We've got that. It's Michael Carrick's first game in charge because we know that during the week it was confirmed that he'll take charge of this team for the rest of the season. This is a Manchester City team where even Pep Guardiola is saying he's getting it right. They come off the back of a 10-1 win in the FA Cup. During the week, they beat Newcastle 2-0. Manchester United can't score to save their lives. And that defense, yeah. So good luck to everybody with that one. But the other games to also look forward to include Nottingham Forest up against Arsenal. And then your team as well, Mandy. I see you love throwing my team under the bus, but your team, I mean, your manager even walks around with an Arsenal coffee cup, even though he's technically a Spurs manager. But also your problems are many. But that will be definitely
your problems are manier than more.
Still higher than you in the standings.
Keith says, Kaiser Chiefs, it's time to hand in all your Nedbank bank cards. Hand it over to Orlando Pirates. How?
Okay. We have 2 more days before we start the beef. Even KG is ready to start the beef. For the next 3 days, we are still just normal South Africans. We will start the club rivalry on Monday.
Very quickly, I love a prediction. Oz Open.
Ooh. Because I like the fact that, so Coco Gauff, I don't know if you've seen the video, she has like ginger braids.
Yes. Have I seen the video? I've watched the whole United Cup. I've watched everything.
So they've asked her like, why are you doing the ginger braids for the Oz Open? She was like, well, she's trying to emulate the other ginger on tour, Yannick Sinner. So she's hoping that she has that luck. I know you're going to hate me saying this. I think Sinner's going to defend his title.
You know, I agree with you. So I'm saying Sinner Sabalenka. I think she's been in incredible form. I think she's gonna win the Oz Open. I think she's so good on hard courts, and I think Sinner definitely.
Sinner Iga.
No, Iga didn't play that well in the United Cup.
I think when it's the beginning of the season, they're still fresh off their Christmas food. After that second game, you start getting into the momentum. I think Iga, because a lot of people have started taking her out of the equation when it comes to the big things. So you want to make sure that you're making your mark at the beginning of the campaign as a warning to the rest of your rivals.
Tolakele, thank you very much. Tolakele Mganga with your weekend sport.
The Midday Report with Mandy Wiener is brought to you by Nedbank Commercial Banking. See money differently.
Hi, Mandy. As for Sinead and Mr. George, they're both acting like school kids. I think Auntie Helen should take them both, put dunce caps on their heads and make them stand in the naughty corner. If this happened in the ANC, as you asked, nothing will happen. The ANC is so used to this kind of stuff, it'll make no difference to anything. Reg from Plumstead, cheers.
Brush, stroke, paint, color, protect, and admire. From roof paint to exterior textures and interior silk, Warrior Paints has it all. The product range and stylish colors are amazing. And what's more, Warrior Paints has crushed prices for incredible savings. Enjoy that good old-fashioned personal service you deserve. For price, quality, variety, and service, Warrior Paints is streets ahead. Warrior Paints. Affordable, lasting luxury.
The Outsurance pointsmen know that every car on the road carries a story. There's a car on the way to the hospital, carrying an elderly couple, playfully bantering about who their first grandchild will look like. The Outsurance pointsmen know it's not just a car in traffic. It's bringing two generations together. Every story is different, and every story matters. That's why the Outsurance pointsmen have been doing what they do since 2005, in proud partnership with 702. Outsurance is a licensed insurer and FSP.
Mzansi, Powerball has reached a mega 165 million rand estimated jackpot this Friday. That's one of the highest jackpots to hit the country. Play Powerball for an estimated 165 million rand jackpot today for your chance at greatness. Buy your tickets now in store on nationallottery.co.za, the mobile app, cell phone banking, or simply dial *120 *7529# for USSD. Panda, Pusha, play. Players must be 18 years old or play responsibly. Tuba is a proud operator of the National Lottery.
Good things.
Good things.
With Brent Lindeke.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you.
Happy birthday, Brent Lindekoe. Don't cry. No, don't cry.
My mic's not on. I'm trying to hold it back. I'm so overwhelmed with love today. And I hope that other people feel the same way on their birthdays. When people send messages and they phone, and I've had phone calls from around the world, and then your friends do silly things like this, like play happy birthday on live radio for the whole of South Africa to hear. Yes, it's my birthday, and I'm so grateful for you and to be here for another lekker chat about good things.
You teach me lessons every day. I hate my birthday, so maybe I must listen to you and my other friends who remind me that to age is a privilege.
Absolutely, Mans, and I said that in my Facebook post this morning, that I love to pretend that I'm 29. It's a big joke. All my friends think it's hilarious. But the reality is I'm 41 today, and to get to 41 is an absolute privilege. Not everybody gets to celebrate getting older and or being healthier. And I spoke about the fact that I'm both those things. And what an honor and a privilege.
You also got a Singergram live thing on television on ENCA this morning.
I don't even know what I didn't. It
was a big fluffy thing.
I was so confused.
Thanks to you.
I was so confused. So while reporting on the news on ENCA, as I do every Friday, I was sort of wrapping up, and my co-presenter said, "We found out that it's your birthday, and we've got a special thing for you. A reader is," and they came and they sang in a big pink fluffy, I don't know, gorilla suit. I don't know what it was. I was so confused, but it was very special as well. I was just taken aback.
Oh, I love it. We should celebrate birthdays. You're absolutely right. Brent, I want to speak about the helpers. Now, if you listen to Brent, if you follow him on social media, something that Brent always speaks about is his favorite quote. And I'm going to let him remind you of that. And he's launched the helpers. So, Brent, tell us what the helpers is and how you reach this.
So first, that quote, it comes from Fred Rogers, who had a show in the 1970s called The Neighborhood. It was an American show, and it was all about community, kindness, love. I like to say he was the original good things guy. And the quote that he said was, in times of tragedy, we need to look for the helpers because they will always be there. And the reality is that a lot of the stories that we tell on the platform are about these helpers. When there's tragedy, we wait half an hour, a day, and the story changes, and then we get to tell the story of the helpers. But what happened during the pandemic, it was very early on in 2020, we were inundated with emails and messages from people in need. And it got very overwhelming quite quickly. My team and I, we weren't quite sure what to do, But we realized quite quickly that we have an incredible network. And in the space that we've been in for the last now, it's going into its 11th year, we've got great connections with charities and organizations. And even though we can't help ourselves, we can connect people. So that first year in 2020, we created charity lists. I think the list was just one in that first year. And then in 2021, we ramped it up and we split it into different categories. So there were, 10 lists. And then those lists just grew and grew and grew. And at the beginning of 2025, when the team, mainly Tyler, who is my editor, put the lists together, I said to her, this is such a great thing that you're doing, but the list is too long. If someone logs onto an article, they have to scroll for days to try and find what they're looking for. We need to try and make this easier to read or to be accessible. So we worked on it the whole of last year. And this week we launched thehelpers.co.za, a space for charities to freely promote themselves, to be put up into this platform. And more than anything, a space for people to get help. So should you require help, there's a little block. You literally log on. It says type of organization. What are you looking for? Gender-based violence, cancer treatments, education, babies, whatever it is that need. And then you put your location and it'll match you up. It's a Tinder for charities. At the same time, it gives South Africans a way to help charities. Because what I've found in the last 11 years is the big charities, the ones with the big names and that are in our newspapers all the time, they get a lot of donations. But it's the little guys that actually need, well, everybody needs it, but it's the little guys that really need help. So I'm hoping that the Helpers is going to be a space to do just that.
So where can people find it? If they want to make a donation to an NGO, if they're looking for an NGO, where do they find the Helpers?
It's so easy. So you go to www.thehelpers.co.za. On the home page, you'll find that little search bar like you do on Google or any other page. You'll put the type of organization you're looking for, and then you'll put the location where you're in, or just go search for that. There's national ones as well. And then it'll bring up another screen that's got a selection of charities that you can support. And I think going into 2026, a big message for me is that if you have 10 Rand or 20 Rand or 50 Rand left over at the end of the month and you want to do good, you want to give back, then that's what we should be doing. Often charities and organizations in South Africa are the backbone of our country. They're doing the hardest work for the people that are most in need. And if you can give back, so that's why I said 10, 20, 50. Sometimes we think we need to give a lot. And the reality is the little amounts will make the biggest differences. I must just put a T's and C's here. We only launched this week. So to the lead up to the launch, we asked 50 organizations to sort of load themselves on the site to make sure that it was working and there were no glitches. And since we've gone live, I think that number's gone up to 121. It just keeps growing. We have to vet the charities, obviously. So once you load your charity on there, the team on the back end are checking that. But it keeps going up every hour. There's a couple of more that are
amazing.
being
What an
added.
incredible initiative. You're just making it easier for people to help other people. So thank you so much for that and the impact of it. Okay, let's tell one or two good stories because that's all
Absolutely.
we've got time for.
Cool.
So tell us about the man who volunteered to fight fires, who nearly lost his own life.
So this is the craziest story. We know that there's been fires in the Eastern Cape. They've been really bad. And we've had a lot of volunteers that have sort of put themselves at the forefront there. But this gentleman, Sydney Miller, wasn't even a firefighter. And he was not from the area either. He was visiting his brother in the area. And when the fires took hold, he just got stuck in, as South Africans do. At one point, he got bitten or scratched or something that he didn't quite understand. He took off his shoe, put it back on. He didn't quite know. I mean, there was a lot going on. But as he was walking to his car, he sort of passed out. They realized it was a snake bite. He had to go to hospital. And the community, the good news is here is that he's getting better. He put himself at the forefront to fight these fires. But more than anything, the community's come together, rallied together to look after him. And they've raised over 200,000 Rand so that they can look after those hospital fees.
Beautiful. Amazing. And then we're speaking about birthdays. So tell us about 68 years apart, a woman finally received a birthday call that reunited her with her long-lost brother.
When I interviewed Lindley, I cried. So
No one's really surprised by that.
I cry often. But Lindley Clark, so she knew that she had two brothers. Her father was married before he got married to her mother. Her parents, I mean, they did what they did and they kept the families apart. And so she never really had contact with her brothers. And time made it more difficult. She turned 68. But through a chance meeting, her friend managed to actually meet her brother just at a dinner. And through conversation, her friend realized this was her brother, organized the number. And on her 68th birthday, on the 28th of December 2025, her phone rang and she answered it. And her brother, who she had never spoken to, said, "Hello, sister. It's taken 80 years for me to be able to wish my real sister a happy birthday."
Aww.
And that's the seed that planted their reunion. They spent 2 days together recently, and they've only known each other 2 weeks. But they've realized that they are really brother and sister. They fly planes, they've got a love for Great Danes, they've got all these connections. And even though they've lived a life apart, it's a beautiful story of them coming together. I ended that article by saying, life doesn't always play out the way we think it should, but sometimes it does give us second chances. And that's the kind of news we all need. It's never too late for family to find its way home. And I think that is something beautiful. Families can find their way home again.
Beautiful. Brent, thank you so much. Thank you for reminding us about the importance of birthdays and how powerful they can be. And I hope that you have an amazing birthday yourself.
Listen, we know I'm going to have an amazing birthday. I always do. Thank you for allowing me to share good news on the show with you. I know that the listeners love it. I love doing it. It's lekker to be in studio as well. And as I say every week, wishing you only good things.
Only good things. Brent Lindeque, the good things guy.
7:02, the Midday Report, Monday to Friday.
12 to 1 p.m.
The Midday Report with Mandy Wiener on 7:02 and Cape Talk was brought to you by Nedbank Commercial Banking. Think bigger, think Nedbank Commercial Banking. It's 1 o'clock.
This is EWN.
Several lives lost during days of devastating Limpopo floods, and China and Canada reach landmark tariff deal. Good afternoon, I'm Maki Malapo. We begin with developments